Behind every successful golfer is a trusted figure walking alongside them down the fairways, carrying the bag, reading greens, calming nerves, and helping navigate the pressure of elite competition. For rising German star Matti Schmid, that person in 2026 is Chris Selfridge, a former professional golfer whose own playing career was cruelly cut short before he unexpectedly discovered a new purpose inside the ropes. While Schmid continues climbing the PGA Tour ranks and establishing himself among golf's promising young talents, Selfridge has quietly become one of the most fascinating stories in professional golf. His journey from injured golfer to experienced caddy has taken him around the world, from office work in Belfast to major championships and even the Olympic Games. And according to Selfridge himself, he would not change a single thing. The Northern Irishman officially joined Schmid's team for the 2026 PGA Tour season, but the partnership began developing earlier in the year. Selfridge started traveling with Schmid during the West Coast swing in January, including a trip to Torrey Pines, before officially taking over full-time caddy duties around the Genesis Invitational in February. Since then, the partnership has continued building momentum throughout the spring season. For Schmid, having someone with first-hand professional playing experience on the bag provides a major advantage. Selfridge understands the mental pressure of elite competition because he once chased the exact same dream himself. However, his own path in golf looked very different before life unexpectedly pushed him toward caddying. Long before carrying bags on the PGA Tour, Selfridge was trying to build a career as a professional golfer. Like many talented young players coming out of Europe, he dreamed of competing at the highest level and earning a permanent place among golf's elite. The talent was certainly there. Selfridge enjoyed a strong amateur career and represented Great Britain and Ireland in prestigious team competitions. He also competed collegiately in the United States, playing for the University of Toledo before eventually turning professional with hopes of reaching the upper levels of world golf. But professional golf can be brutally unforgiving. Despite spending several years pursuing his dream, Selfridge struggled to fully establish himself as a touring professional. Then came the biggest setback of all, recurring wrist injuries that ultimately derailed his playing career around 2018. For golfers, wrist injuries can be devastating. The golf swing places constant stress on the hands and wrists, making recovery extremely difficult, especially for players trying to compete week after week. Eventually, the physical limitations became too much for Selfridge to overcome. Suddenly, the dream he had spent years chasing disappeared. Like many athletes forced into early retirement, Selfridge found himself uncertain about what came next. He returned home to Belfast and began working an office job, attempting to figure out life outside professional golf. It was a difficult transition, especially after dedicating so much of his identity to the sport. Then, unexpectedly, everything changed because of one phone call. Selfridge's close friend, Michael Hoey, had earned DP World Tour status and needed a caddy for an upcoming trip to Australia. Hoey reached out and asked if Selfridge would be interested in helping out on the bag. At the time, it was not necessarily viewed as the beginning of a long-term career. But Selfridge agreed. That decision ended up completely transforming his life. Almost immediately, he discovered something surprising: he genuinely loved caddying. While he could no longer compete professionally himself, working inside the ropes still allowed him to remain connected to the sport he loved. Even better, it offered a new perspective on golf that he had never fully appreciated as a player. Instead of focusing solely on his own performance, Selfridge now became deeply involved in helping others succeed. The transition proved natural. Because of his own playing background, Selfridge quickly understood course management, strategy, pressure situations, and the emotional side of tournament golf. Those qualities helped him earn trust from players searching for experienced voices beside them during competition. Over time, his reputation continued growing. What initially started as a temporary opportunity gradually evolved into a full-time career that has now lasted far longer than his original playing journey. In fact, Selfridge has now spent nearly twice as long working as a caddy as he did trying to make it as a touring professional. And the experiences along the way have been remarkable. Since entering the caddying world, Selfridge has worked at some of golf's biggest events, including major championships and even the Olympic Games. He has traveled internationally, built relationships across the sport, and experienced elite competition from a completely different angle. Most importantly, he rediscovered joy in golf after believing the sport had taken everything away from him. That perspective likely makes him especially valuable to a young player like Schmid. At just 28 years old, Schmid remains one of Germany's most promising golf talents. The former world #1 amateur enjoyed a stellar collegiate career at the University of Louisville and quickly gained attention after turning professional thanks to his consistency and ball-striking ability. However, like many rising PGA Tour players, Schmid is still navigating the challenges of establishing himself permanently at the highest level. The PGA Tour schedule is demanding, mentally exhausting, and incredibly competitive. That is where a caddy like Selfridge becomes invaluable. Beyond reading putts or calculating yardages, modern caddies often serve as emotional stabilizers, strategists, motivators, and trusted confidants. Players spend enormous amounts of time with their caddies during practice rounds, tournaments, travel weeks, and stressful competitive moments. Chemistry matters tremendously. So far, Schmid and Selfridge appear to be developing exactly that kind of strong working relationship. Since teaming up earlier this year, Schmid has looked increasingly comfortable on the PGA Tour. Selfridge's calm personality and professional experience seem to complement Schmid's game well, particularly during pressure moments. And unlike many caddies who never played competitively themselves, Selfridge knows exactly what tournament nerves feel like because he experienced them personally during his own career. That shared understanding creates a different level of communication between player and caddy. There is also something uniquely inspiring about Selfridge's story. Many athletes struggle emotionally after injuries and end their careers prematurely. Some leave sports entirely. Others find it difficult watching former competitors continue living the dream they lost. Selfridge chose a different path. Instead of walking away from golf bitter or frustrated, he reinvented himself within the sport. He transformed disappointment into opportunity and built an entirely new career around helping others succeed. Now, years later, he finds himself once again inside the ropes at golf's biggest tournaments, only this time carrying a yardage book instead of a scorecard. In many ways, his story reflects one of the most underrated truths in professional sports: success does not always arrive in the form originally imagined. Selfridge may never have achieved the playing career he once envisioned as a young golfer. Injuries prevented that dream from fully becoming reality. But the path that followed ultimately gave him something equally meaningful: longevity in the game, world travel, unforgettable experiences, and a respected place within professional golf. And now, as he walks fairways alongside Matti Schmid throughout the 2026 PGA Tour season, Selfridge continues proving that sometimes life's unexpected detours can lead to the most rewarding destinations of all.